Good afternoon. I'm Andy McDonald, sitting alongside, what's your name again?
Yeah, exactly.
Blake Severing of the News Sentinel, talking a little inside the zone. Comets, they advanced
This
in
is
Game
Andy.
5.
He's the new guy.
New guy. I'm not as tan as Glenn would be in this moment right now. Comets
Well,
advanced.
nobody ever is.
That's true. That's a good point. He puts on a lot of makeup, too. Anyways, Game 5, Comets advance. What did you see in Game 5 to see them advance?
I saw their best game of the playoffs. I mean, obviously it's just 5 games, but I thought they really controlled it from start to finish, even when you knew Quad City would make a push to come back, and the Comets really shut them down after it got to be 3-2. I think Quad City only had 2 shots on goal the last 15 minutes, and the Comets dictated play. They dictated pace, style. They did everything you'd want them to do in a game.
In Game 4, obviously, they didn't sweep. They lost with 15.2 seconds left in overtime. Were you surprised that they didn't actually sweep this team?
Yeah, I was a little surprised. I mean, let's face it. Quad City has led for 0 seconds in that, except for the first game where they went up 2-0. It just, the Comets, I never felt like they were out of control, ever. That when they wanted to play, they could dictate terms, essentially. Now, that won't always be the case going forward, obviously, but in this round, I just felt that way. I mean, just from watching it and the things they were doing, and when they wanted to follow the game plan and do things the right way, they were going to be fine, and that's what happened.
Do you think Game 5 after that Game 4 loss, especially with Gary Graham, do you think if it gives him more confidence knowing that the way they came out in Game 5 and didn't let the series slip to a Game 6?
No, I think Gary has full confidence in his guys. He knows they can do it. They know they can do it. It's like, when are you going to do it? That was what my column was about today. It's like this team always responds to challenges, whether it's Gary challenging him, or it's Jamie Shasma challenging him in the room, or the leaders challenging him in the room, or somebody challenging him on the ice. They respond, but sometimes they need that challenge to get it going.
And we were talking about it a little bit earlier. Obviously, Toledo and Kalamazoo, the 2 best words in all of sports. Game 7, they played those on Tuesday night. Which team do you think bodes well best to face off against the Comets in the second round?
Well, that's the thing with this team. I mean, they struggle with Toledo all year. They controlled Kalamazoo. I think this is completely different, though, because playoffs are so much different than regular season. I'd rather see them play Toledo. I think it'd be, and it's strictly for an interest standpoint.
Okay.
I think there'd be a lot more interest, a lot more fans in both arenas. Kalamazoo, you'd have a lot more Fort Wayne fans up there. I just think Toledo's a more interesting series because of the history and everything. And I want to see really good hockey, and I think that's the best way to see good hockey. Now, I don't know what Kalamazoo's doing. We haven't seen him since, the end of January. Nobody knows what they're doing right now, other than I'm sure their goalies are playing really well.
Yeah.
So, either way, it'll be a good series. Toledo could be a great series. I don't know. If the Comets play every game like they did Game 5, it won't really matter.
Okay.
If they play to that level and push themselves and keep getting better, they'll be in good shape.
How advantageous is it for the Comets to see a Game 7 between these teams? The rest and also just the normalcy with
you're not
them.
going to be able to start the next round till Friday or Saturday anyway, so then it's fine.
Yeah.
But the Comets don't always respond well when they've had some time off. That first period, they're slow to get going. They know it too, and it's like, but they realize it, but how do you fix it? Because you don't have, game competition during the week, so it takes you a while to get back up to speed, So that's a challenge for this week for them. They weren't going to be able to start till Friday or Saturday anyway, so you might as well have the other teams play.
And coming back to that first round of the series, because obviously I'm somewhat new to the area, but this is 50-plus times in the postseason. How big of a deal is it for this team to make it out of that first round?
In the history of Fort Wayne, it's not that big a deal.
No.
But in the history of the ECHL, it's a pretty big deal because they're the only team the last 4 years that has made it through the first round. No other team can say that, which is amazing when you think about it.
Yeah.
There's 27 teams, and you'd think somebody else would have done it, but nobody's done it. And since 2007, the Comets have won at least one round every time they've been in the playoffs, which is remarkable. I don't think there's nobody, maybe the Spurs, the San Antonio Spurs could say that.
Okay.
I can't think of anybody else in pro sports that can say that, and I've been trying to rack my brains on that. That's pretty impressive.
No, it's very impressive, especially in a league that's as tough as the ECHL. You talked a little bit about the Comets and how far they could go, especially against Toledo or Kalamazoo. What is the expectation for this team? Is it a championship?
I think it is. They've said that was why they came back. Jamie Shasma said in June championship or bust. And I'm like, you sure you want to say that? And he goes, yeah, that's what I believe. I think that's why so many guys are coming back, and that's what they're focused on. I mean, the question is going to be, can they be consistently disciplined enough to do it? I mean, can they be disciplined enough to play the system and do it correctly and sacrifice and stay out of the penalty box?
And this series, obviously, Kyle Thomas, obviously, very big series. Jamie,
it was
captain.
Good to see Kyle get going. Yeah.
How good was it to see the horses of this squad kind of get rolling in the playoffs?
Yeah, and Trevor Cheek getting a goal
Exactly.
Saturday was big for him.
Yeah.
You could see the relief in his face when he scored. Kyle getting 3 goals in the last 2 games was big. Jamie was consistent the whole way. I mean, I think he's got a goal he has the shortest amount of goals for time where the puck's actually on his stick, because they're all deflections, and it's just he's so good at that. It's like he goes to the back post and he just tips it. It's amazing. And Garrett Thompson's coming close. I think Garrett's about to break out.
Okay.
I really do. He was this far away from about 2 or 3, and he's getting close, which is a good sign for him. I mean, that means he's involved and everything, and that's good. It was neat to see what Gary did with the lines on Saturday night. He put Kyle Thomas with Mike Kozzola and Son Kozlowski, and that worked. He put Shaftsma with Trevor Cheek and Trevor, and who else was the other one? Anyway, and then the third line, he kind of stepped the same. That was really good to see. And then with Mike Embach was 10th forward, and I know Mike probably hates that, but he's really good at it, and he really has a big impact on the game when he plays 10th forward.
And not even to mention,
Brett Perlini was
Brett Perlini.
Yeah.
And you didn't even mention Sean Sidlowski. He had like 6 apples in the series, which is unbelievable. So they got some horses moving forward. And on the back end, talk a little bit about Pat Nagel, because Pat's playing very well right now as well. And
he was the best player
player.
in the series. I mean, him or Mike Kozzola were the 2 best players in the series. And truthfully, we'd still be playing. We'd still be waiting for tonight. For Game 6 tonight if Pat hadn't played so well in the series. I mean, he stole Game 2 or Game 3 from him. I mean, he really played really well.
Okay. And I asked you about the Game 7 and who you would want to see. Who do you think the Comets want to see in the next round after this Game 7?
Oh, I don't know. One's 90 minutes, one's 2 hours. If you're a competitor, I think you want to see the best team.
Okay.
I think you want to see Toledo. Fans are all afraid of Toledo for some reason, and it's like, I don't get that. I mean, obviously the playoffs are so much different than the regular season. I just don't get that. Were the Comets afraid of San Diego in 2003? Were they afraid when they were down 3-1 a couple times in the IHL days, or when they were down 0-2 to Missouri after losing the first 2 at home? I mean, you don't look at it that way.
Okay.
You look at it as the opportunity, and I think Toledo would be another historic series. Kalamazoo sure has that chance, though. They're playing well.
It'll be tough. Obviously, Toledo, Kalamazoo, they have Game 7. The next series, it will likely go beyond 4, so it'll be a good series, definitely.
The goaltending is up a notch even further.
Oh, yeah, and it's playoff hockey. I mean, ECHL hockey, playoff hockey.
Both teams have a lot more depth than Quad City has.
Exactly. All right, well, they move on in the second round. Thanks again, Blake, for joining us inside the zone.